Welcome to the Highlight Her podcast, a space created to highlight incredible women in their journeys through business, motherhood, creativity, and accomplishments. I hope it ignites motivation in you like it does for me. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get to it. All right, we are here with Kimberly Piazza-Lambert.
Yes.
What are you going by now, actually?
Kimberly Piazza-Lambert.
Kimberly Piazza-Lambert.
I can't commit to Kimberly Lambert yet.
Yeah, she just got married almost a month ago now.
Whole month in.
Congratulations. Yeah.
I know.
So she is the owner and founder of Heart Studio. It's an art studio in Windham, New Hampshire.
Yes.
So we are excited to have her on. Thanks for coming on, Kim.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're
I feel very
welcome.
honored and very special.
Well, everyone who knows you just loves you.
Thank you.
There's so many good things to say about you, but I want to start off by you kind of just talking about Heart Studio. You have a big background about why you started it, how you started it, so paint me a picture of that.
Where to begin, Kenzie? Well, so I'd say around 2019, I got my license to teach, and I originally was planning on teaching at Massachusetts vocational schools. So I was designing bags for like 7 years, which was awesome. Mm-hmm. We got to travel all over the world, go to Fashion Week, went to China a bunch. I had a lot of points. I had a lot of perks, and I did love what I did, but I realized one day that I was like, you know what? I don't want to wake up in the morning and be in an office. Mm-hmm. I want to be teaching kids. So I changed my whole career path, which is kind of crazy because at that point I was a senior designer and I was very close to hitting the top you could possibly be at. So to go completely 360 degrees was a little crazy. Mm-hmm. But I did, so I can tell you this. So because my aunt, she was really, really sick. And I feel like when you go through tragedy, it kind of really puts a perspective on your life. So She didn't make it, but it made me think about my life and what I wanted to do every day. And I really wanted to work with kids. So got my license to teach, and I was all good to go, gonna work at Massachusetts vocational schools. I was subbing every Monday, and then Tuesday through Friday I was doing design work. But then there were no jobs happening. Yeah. So I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm really want to teach and I can't find a job. I wanted to work at either Shawshing Tech or Whittier or something local. Nothing was happening. So I thought back and I was like, you know what? I went to after school art. I could maybe find a space and start my own thing. Yeah. I originally wanted to teach design. Mm-hmm. So I combined both art and design to create what is now known as Heart Studio. Mm-hmm. So I found a space and got all the things necessary for it, the computers, software, tables, furniture, set the whole thing up, which I thought was super fun, setting it up. But I remember looking at it and be like, oh my gosh, I hope that I didn't just like the design part of creating the space and everything. I really hope I like the teaching part. So then it ended up working out. I had an open house, and then people signed up for classes, and I had a really great, solid first week.
And you started this during pandemic time.
I did
so I think that's a good thing to highlight too.
Yeah.
You start a business, which is scary enough.
It was very scary, yes.
And then
used all of my savings.
Pandemic.
Yes.
And you're like,
so yeah, thank you for reminding me. So how could I forget that traumatizing experience? So March 2nd was my first class. It was great. I had 25 kids throughout the week, which for just starting, that's pretty good. It was
huge, yeah.
I was like, wow, I filled a couple classes. I had privates. I was like, this is awesome. Mm-hmm. Then March 13th came, and the government was like, there's a pandemic. You need to shut your doors. I was like, holy crap.
I have bills.
I have bills to pay. I have rent and utilities and everything. Mm-hmm. Yes, you still have to pay all of that. Yeah. So I shut my doors, and I tried to find different ways to pay the bills and make a living. Mm-hmm. So I taught virtually. I sold art kits. I took on a couple side design jobs. But from the months of March and June, when I was expecting to, build students, I was not doing that. I was just kind of to survive, basically. Yeah. I was not thriving. I was surviving.
Yeah. Just squeezing by.
Yeah. I remember at one point I was like, I don't think I can pay my full rent this month. So I had to talk to the landlord and ended up paying it, but throughout I added it on to other months and things because I literally used every dime that I possibly had towards the end. Even I still was working, but there's only so much you can do.
Right.
So so I reopened in June, and it was slow to start because people were still I mean, even now, people are still cautious about COVID, and you had to wear masks, and class sizes had to be really small. So now I had this whole business plan of, say, 12 kids in the classroom for X amount per student, all this stuff, to make a living. And it's not about making a living. I really did this because I wanted to teach, but
you have
to make a living. So all that changed, and I had to come up with a whole new rubric of how I was going to run. So I had to do shorter length classes. Because I needed to get more kids in throughout the day because the class sizes had to be smaller. So everything changed that I had originally planned, like pricing, length of classes. It was crazy. My curriculum that I had to alter that. So I basically was starting this new business that I thought I had planned to the 100th degree, over again. So that was crazy. But June, I started slowly picking up students, and then by July I got busier. August was very slow, I remember that. And then throughout time, though, word of mouth, basically, I started getting more and more kids, and as of right now, I'm busy, so it's kind of nice. I actually have full classes, and certain seasons, your kids are on a wait list, because I do like to try to keep my class sizes relatively small. So I mean, it's better for them. But yeah, it's kind of crazy that I made it through the pandemic.
You did. I think, talk about being a business owner that has had to adapt and learn how to adapt. And I think as a business owner, that's part of the game. Things are always changing, so you do have to adapt. But you learned that forcefully right off the bat. And I think what's so great about you, too, is you ask people for help. You're not a business owner that's I got it, this is my niche, I'm on my way. You ask everybody for help. It doesn't matter if they're in art or just in public teaching. You're always trying
to get
about
ideas.
This? And you're very you take the help and the advice, and then you kind of
learn from them.
Which I think is great. I think that's awesome.
Well, I needed to, especially I remember during the pandemic, I was selling these. It was during Easter. I was selling these bunny rabbit kit things because I was they were wicked cute. But I was chopping wood, making these wooden bunny rabbits that people could put together with a stencil and paint. And I remember thinking this is a great idea. I usually have a good idea and a good sense of the design behind it, but I'm I don't have a wood shop. I don't know. So I remember asking my friend for help, going to her house. She helped me cut all the parts for these bunny rabbits. I cut stencils, and I feel that was one of the first points in my business where I was I need to ask for help. Because I mean, it's a small little anecdote, but I asked for help, and then you learn from that. But there are points in the business that I'm learning more, that I should ask for more help with certain points in the business. But every day you're learning and picking up new insight from people around you, and trying to make it a better place for the kids to learn, basically. I
think that's awesome. And I know when I asked you to come on today, I said I want you to base this topic on realizing your worth. So to kind of circle back to your corporate job that you had, and switching over. So you don't have to go into too much detail, but give me kind of you were at kind of the top of the top. You couldn't go any further. But walk me through that realization where you're I am just not living up to my full potential here.
Yeah, so not even worth monetarily, but worth of my strengths weren't always being utilized in the job I had. I was really good at the design aspect, and I was really good at doing presentations, and they used to send me to Vegas. I was not really good at sitting at a computer and filling spreadsheets out. Yes, I'm organized and can do that, but that didn't fulfill me. I wasn't really good at sitting at a desk. For the days that we weren't traveling and I was not good at sitting at a desk for 10 hours. I'm also I really liked working with kids in that aspect. One of my favorite parts of my old job was I used to run the internship program, and I'd get kids in from Notre Dame school in Lawrence and all over actually, but mostly Notre Dame kids. And I used to direct them on the projects. They would report to me, and I loved that. And I'm okay, so I'm a designer designing bags, but one of my favorite parts is actually helping these kids. That doesn't add up. So I realized my strengths were more of like the teaching aspect. Because I actually do think it's good to be like, there's, you know, they always say the jack of all trades or the master of one. I think myself, I actually am a jack of all trades, and I think that's okay, because I think you need to be that to be a really good art and design teacher. So I was a good designer. I wouldn't say I was like the best designer, even with art, but I understand design really well. I understand art. I've been doing it my whole life. Graduated from Mass College of Art and Design, and I've done just so many things in art and design, from painting, drawing, cold glass working, woodworking, metal melting, or I took like a jewelry class, like form study, you know, 3D, 2D, like I can figure it out.
You're good at everything.
So
you're good at
well, with art and design, I can like figure it out, and like I enjoy it, and that's like my number one thing that I like doing. So, so that's why I think being a teacher was more for me as opposed to being just a designer, because I have done all these crazy things in my history that I can use what I've learned and kind of use that as like a base and guide to help kids. So,
and talk me through kind of that internal battle that I'm sure that I know you were going through in transitioning out of that corporate job. And
so basically you feel like you're having an identity crisis, because being a designer, you have an ego. Like everyone has an ego, but being a designer especially, you kind of associate yourself like, hi, I'm Kimberly Piazza, I'm a designer. Like, it's part of who you are. I think similar if you're like a nurse or something. Like, that becomes your identity. So to take away my design title, which I still take on design jobs here and there, but take away on my design title and become a teacher was kind of like a hard like ego challenge, I would say. But all for like the better, because I say, hi, I'm Kimberly Piazza, I'm a teacher, and I'm like really proud of my new identity and my new way I live my life and wake up every day. And,
But I think you are, I mean, not only did you create a business, you created an art curriculum that kids have never had before and they thrive through.
It's really fun,
but at the same time, an art studio is an outlet for kids in a lot of ways. I think creativity itself, whether it's music or design or drawing or painting, creativity is a huge outlet for kids. So kind of walk me through that as well. I think that you have become more in being a teacher than you thought you really ever would. So kind of walk me through that as well.
Yeah, I honestly feel like, so to me, art and music, I would say, are one of the only activities kids do that slow them down. And in like this day and age, most of the activities are, you know, pumping you up and making you go, and like I'm thinking sports and activities like that. So kids that come to me are looking to do an activity that's quite the opposite. It focuses your brain on that one task, and it really kind of puts you in the zone, and it builds confidence because they can see their progress. There's like, yes, we go through struggles as artists, like even me, myself, you go through this creative, like, in the middle of your drawing, I don't like this anymore. But then you're working towards a point to liking something, you know? And that alone is just like a really great, you know, strength building tool for kids, and building the confidence through, you know, them seeing themselves get better at their craft. So, yeah, I feel like it has been, it's almost, and I tell some of the students that come to me that they just want to try out art. Maybe they're not the art kid, but they want to try it out. Like, for them, it could even be more of like that therapy in a way. Like maybe they're not going to become like the architects and the interior designers that I had planned this business around. Like, I'm going to use art and design together simultaneously. But for me, I'm like, the fact that they're there relaxing, making this piece that they're proud of, like, go you. And also creating an environment for kids to come to, especially the art kid that didn't have the sports team, and they're around people that they have some similar interests in, I think is really important. I remember that from my after-school art experience, going to this old woman's kitchen. I loved her, Miss Priscilla Martin Hatt. She was the best. It was in Danvers, and I used to go there every Thursday for 2.5 hours, and I would be around all the kids just like me, the ones that loved drawing, painting, the ones that were like me, like obsessive, trying to, work hours and hours on this one thing. Yeah. But now we have, you're at Heart Studio, you're around the kids that are just like you. Yeah. So it's really nice and rewarding, which I didn't really think about so much. My whole goal was I wanted to be a teacher. I didn't really think about, but I see it every day, the community that like is happening at my studio. Yeah. And it's great for any like person, any spectrum of person. Yeah. I teach people of all spectrums, and art, I can tell you, is great for every person. Yeah. There's nothing bad about it. It's the greatest thing that you could possibly do for yourself. Pan out that, hour, 2 hours out of your week and dedicate it to your creativity and, your imagination, your ideas, your view on color, shape, line, texture, how you want all those to go together, and even just like perfecting your craft and what you see as beautiful or interesting, or the art that you see that can even strike someone's emotion. Because some of the stuff that we create at Art Studio isn't the most, it could be scary. It could have horror towards it. It could, just be them expressing their internal battles. But someone else could see that and also relate. So it's not always butterflies and rainbows, but even like the swords and the blood splatters, they mean a lot too.
Something. Yeah. So good. And what a cool thing that you did to create a place that someone feels comfortable to express themselves fully through, if it is scary or if it's something that they wouldn't want to draw at school or this or that. Like, I just, especially for parents too, for you to create a space that they must be just, it must be like therapy, like you said, which everyone needs, every kid needs, everyone needs their time where they consider it like meditation.
It is like meditation, totally.
And I think it's so great. I mean, you're 31 years old, and you still, the teacher that you had in art class,
I still remember,
is a pillar in your life. Like, everything Heart Studio is based off of this teacher that you've had. So think about that. You could be touching someone that when they're 31 one day, like they're like, Miss Kim did this for me, and I love it. And that's what a cool thing to have, Yeah,
that's like very crazy for me to think about, because I was so affected by my teachers, and now it's like, oh man, better be doing a good job.
but you are. I mean, I am always fascinated by your brain, Kim, like the way that you think about colors and shape. Like, you even just talked about like the way that a line touches a color and like that. Your brain is just so fascinating to me. And I'll never forget, like, when we bought our house a year ago, and we were talking about our door color. I was like, I think I like yellow or this, and you were like, yellow's perfect. It reminds me of sunflowers at your wedding and the happiest day of your life. And I was like, I had sunflowers at my wedding. I didn't even remember. Well, you remember because it's something creative and beautiful, and those are things that just are so like integrated into your brain, and that's, you find joy in that.
I do.
And you bring that joy onto other people, which I think is so great.
I know. It is something I do think like the most random stuff is beautiful, but
it
is.
Yeah.
Like the other day I saw, and now this is where people are probably like, this girl's weird, but I saw pollen like in water, like flowing around, was like marbleizing. I just sat and like looked at that for a bit. I was like, this is so beautiful.
But that's such a beautiful trait to have, though, because I would love to stop and see beauty in random things. Like, I think we should all do that, but we don't, because we don't have time, or we just
I also think it's
don't trigger it.
Yeah, I think training too. So like that's what I'm hoping. Like, I like talk about picking to my students, like, you're doing art now, but like in your day-to-day life, like make sure you're looking around and seeing the balance of things in nature, and making sure you see like the color combinations, and looking at that like bumblebee wing in the veins, like going through like little stuff like that, like, because that's what's going to give you inspiration. Yeah. And I also encourage them to go outside of my studio, like take other art classes. I don't offer everything I'd like to offer, like go to a pottery class, like take as many mediums as you possibly can, because that's only going to grow you as an artist. Yeah. And I feel like that's kind of how I've grown, is I've never feared a medium. Yeah. I've always been excited about trying something new, and even if I wasn't the best at it in the class, like still enjoyed it. Like, and then I can take that one medium and relate it to another medium, and then you're creating something new based off of like your past experiences. Yeah. So I think that's really important.
It is.
Yeah.
I love you. Everyone who knows you loves you. You spew joy. There is not
I
a
love
single
you, Kenzie.
there is not a single human on the face of the earth that would have anything bad to say about you.
Oh
You are I love your brain. I love
Thank you.
how far you've come. I love watching you grow, and I'm just so proud of everything that you've done, and I know 20 years from now, 30 years from now, I know some kid is going to be talking about you, about how you talk about your teacher.
Well, thank you.
You're very
that
welcome.
That means so much. It really does. You have no idea. It's like kind of like crazy to think about that could happen.
It is, and it's going to happen.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Well, Heart Studio, again, where can everyone find out more about Heart Studio and classes and things like that?
So we have a website, heart-studios with an S because it was available, .com. Yeah. So heart-studios.com has everything. And you can also see us on Instagram, heart_studio_. And also Facebook, Heart Studio NH, I believe. But all of that can be found on, I could be messing up some underscores, but all of that can be found on the website. And then we have, all our schedule up there and, special workshops we offer. And then even like birthday parties and events that we all also offer in addition to classes. So all on the website. Check it out. I designed it, and it's fun to update it. And another fun part of the business is working on that type of stuff too. So
you're a designer.
Yeah, it's good.
Yes. All right, good. Well, thank you so much. You're always a joy. And
thank you.
Yeah, thanks.